A long time ago, in the year 1912, there was a big and beautiful ship called Titanic. It was the largest ship in the world. The ship was new, and everyone said it was the strongest ship ever built. People believed it could never sink. The ship was made with the best materials, and it had everything: restaurants, music rooms, a swimming pool, and big rooms for rich people. It was like a floating palace. The ship started its journey from Southampton, England. It was going to New York, America. People from different countries were on Titanic. Some were rich, wearing expensive clothes and staying in big rooms. Some were poor, dreaming of a better life in America and staying in small rooms in third class. On the day Titanic left England, thousands of people stood near the dock waving goodbye. The sky was blue and the ocean was calm. Everyone on the ship was excited. Some were going for business, some for adventure, and some were going to start a new life. They did not know that this journey would change history forever. Jack Dawson was one of the passengers. He was a young man with blue eyes and golden hair. Jack was poor, but he was always happy. He loved to draw pictures and travel the world. He did not have a home. He went from place to place, sleeping under the stars. Jack did not have a ticket for Titanic at first, but one night he played a card game in a small cafe in England. The winner of the game got 2 tickets for Titanic. Jack was lucky. He won the game. He jumped up and cheered, laughing with excitement. His best friend, Fabrizio, hugged him. "We are going to America, my friend," Fabrizio shouted. Jack smiled. "To a new life," he said. They ran to the dock just in time. The ship was about to leave. Jack and Fabrizio jumped on board at the last moment. They laughed, holding their tickets in the air. On the other side of the ship, Rose DeWitt Bukater was standing with her mother and fiancé. Rose was a beautiful young woman with red hair and green eyes. She wore a long, expensive dress and a big hat. Everyone thought she had a perfect life, but Rose was not happy. Rose's family was rich, but they had a secret. After Rose's father died, they had no more money. Her mother, Ruth, wanted Rose to marry Caledon Hockley because he was very rich. Cal looked handsome, but he was cold and cruel. He treated Rose like a thing he owned. As Titanic moved away from the dock, Rose looked at the water. She felt like a bird in a cage. She did not love Cal. She did not want to marry him. She wanted to be free. Jack and Fabrizio ran to the front of the ship. Jack climbed on the railing and spread his arms. The wind blew through his hair. He shouted, "I'm the king of the world!" Fabrizio laughed and cheered with him. For Jack, Titanic was a ship of dreams. But for Rose, it was a prison. That night, the rich people had dinner in the grand dining hall. The room was full of gold decorations, bright chandeliers, and soft music. Rose sat next to Cal, wearing a beautiful dress. The people at the table talked about money and business. Rose felt bored and trapped. She looked across the table at Cal. His smile was fake. His hands were tight around his glass. He wanted to control her life. After dinner, Rose walked to the back of the ship. The sky was dark, and the ocean was deep and endless. She held the railing and looked down. The cold wind touched her face. She closed her eyes. She wanted to jump. Her heart was full of pain. She did not want to live this life. She thought, If I jump, I will be free. Just then she heard a soft voice behind her. Don't do it, the voice said. She turned around. A young man stood there. He had messy golden hair and kind blue eyes. It was Jack. What do you care? Rose said. Her voice was full of anger and sadness. Jack took a step closer. I care, he said, because I don't think you really want to do this. Rose looked at the water again. It was black and endless. She felt dizzy. Jack slowly walked toward her. It's very cold, he said. If you jump, it will feel like 1,000 knives cutting into your skin. Rose took a deep breath. Her heart was beating fast. She felt scared. Jack reached out his hand. Take my hand, he said. I won't let go. Rose looked at him. His eyes were gentle and warm. He was a stranger, but she felt like she could trust him. Slowly, she reached out. Jack held her hand tight and helped her step back onto the deck. But suddenly, her dress got stuck on the railing. She lost her balance and screamed. She started to fall. Jack grabbed her quickly. I've got you, he said. Rose held onto him tightly. Her heart was racing. Jack pulled her to safety. They fell onto the deck together. Jack was on top of Rose, still holding her hands. Just then, some sailors ran toward them. They saw Rose on the ground and Jack holding her. What's going on here? One sailor asked. Rose took a deep breath. She looked at Jack. He had saved her life. But she didn't want anyone to know she was going to jump. She didn't want to explain. So she lied. I was leaning over the railing to see the stars and I slipped, she said. This man saved me. Cal and Ruth arrived. Cal looked angry. What were you doing with him? He asked Rose. He saved me, Rose said. Cal turned to the sailors. Give him a reward. Jack shook his head. I don't need a reward, he said. Cal smiled coldly. Then join us for dinner tomorrow, he said. A man who saved my fiancée should be treated well. Jack looked at Rose. She gave him a small smile. He nodded. All right, I'll come. That night, as Rose lay in bed, she thought about Jack. He was different from everyone she knew. He was not rich, but he was kind and free. For the first time in a long time, Rose smiled. Jack lay in his small room in 3rd class. He thought about Rose. She was rich, but she was not happy. He wondered if he would see her again. The next day, everything would change. The next day, Rose walked through the ship's hallways. She felt nervous. She had never been on a ship like this before. Titanic was so big. Everywhere she looked, people were talking, laughing, or walking quickly from one place to another. Rose's life felt small compared to the grandness of the ship. She didn't know if she should go to the dinner that Jack had agreed to, but something inside her made her want to see him again. She wanted to talk to him. Rose wore a beautiful red dress that evening. Her mother, Ruth, was very pleased. She thought Rose looked perfect. Cal was already sitting at the dinner table waiting for them. He gave Rose a cold smile when she sat next to him. But Rose didn't care about Cal's smile. Her thoughts were with Jack. Jack arrived in a simple suit. He looked out of place in the beautiful dining room. He was used to simpler things. but Rose saw the way his eyes sparkled when he looked around. For a moment, she saw that he was excited to be there, even though he felt out of place. When Jack sat down, Cal gave him a strange look. "So, you're a painter?" Cal asked, his voice full of suspicion. "Do you make money with your art?" Jack smiled, but his smile was not fake. It was real. "I don't make much," he said, looking at Rose, "but I enjoy it. I draw because it makes me happy. Sometimes I draw people I meet." Rose's eyes softened as she listened. She had never met anyone who could speak like that. Dinner was long and awkward. Cal asked Jack many questions, but the answers never seemed good enough for him. Jack could tell Cal did not like him, but Jack didn't care. He just wanted to spend time with Rose, and Rose felt the same. She knew that she and Jack were from different worlds, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. As dinner ended, Jack and Rose went outside. The night air was cool and refreshing. They walked along the deck of the ship, looking at the stars. "I feel like I can breathe again," Rose said, smiling. "When I'm with you, I feel free." Jack looked at her, surprised. "I'm glad," he said softly. "I don't want you to feel trapped anymore." Rose took a deep breath and looked out at the endless ocean. "This ship, Titanic, it's so big, but I feel so small, so alone." Jack was quiet for a moment. He understood. He had traveled so much, but he had never felt like he belonged anywhere. He looked at Rose and said, "You're not alone. I'm here." Rose smiled at Jack's words. It was the first time she had heard anyone say something like that to her. It made her feel safe. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. As the days passed, Jack and Rose spent more time together. They talked, laughed, and shared their dreams. Jack showed Rose how to enjoy life and how to see the beauty in simple things. He took her to the lower deck of the ship where the poor passengers were. There, the air smelled of salt water, and the people sang and danced. Rose had never seen anything like it. She was used to fancy parties with rich people, but Jack's world felt real. It was full of laughter and joy. Jack even took Rose to the bow of the ship, the very front of the Titanic. "Come on," he said, holding her hand. "Let's pretend we're flying." Rose stepped up onto the railing, just like Jack had done on the first day. She stretched her arms out and felt the wind in her hair. She closed her eyes, and for the first time, she felt free. "I'm flying!" she laughed, her heart full of joy. Jack stood behind her, holding her to make sure she was safe. "You are flying, Rose," he said. "You are free." Rose's heart fluttered. She had never felt this way before. But as much as she was falling for Jack, her mother and Cal were growing more worried. Ruth didn't like the way Rose was acting around Jack. She wanted Rose to marry Cal. Ruth said it was the only way to save their family. She didn't care if Rose loved him. Ruth only cared about the money Cal could give them. One day, Ruth confronted Rose. "You must stop seeing that boy," Ruth said sharply. "You don't know what he is like. He is poor. He doesn't care about you." Rose looked at her mother. She was angry, but she didn't say anything. She knew her mother was only thinking about money. "Do you think I don't know that?" Rose said quietly. "But I don't care, Mother. I care about being happy, and I think I can be happy with Jack." Ruth looked at her daughter, shocked. She didn't understand. But Rose didn't care anymore. She wanted to be free. But Rose wasn't the only one who felt trapped. Jack and Rose's love was growing stronger every day. They spent hours together, talking about their dreams and hopes for the future. But they both knew the truth. They were from different worlds. They could never be together. Rose was rich. Jack was poor. Rose was going to marry Cal. Jack had nothing to offer her except love. Then one night, disaster struck. Titanic hit an iceberg. At first, no one knew what was happening. People didn't believe the ship could sink. They thought the ship was too big, too strong to ever go down. But then, the shocking truth came. The ship was sinking. The water started to flood into the lower decks. People began to panic. Jack and Rose were separated. Rose was running with her mother and Cal, but she couldn't leave Jack behind. She needed him. She ran back to the deck, calling his name. "Jack! Jack!" Finally, she found him. He was trying to help people get into the lifeboats, but there were too few. "Rose!" Jack shouted when he saw her. "You have to get in a lifeboat. It's too dangerous here." Rose shook her head. "I'm not leaving you," she cried. But Jack knew what was coming. The ship was sinking quickly. People were screaming. The ship tilted as the water kept rising. "I'll be okay," Jack said, trying to calm her. "You have to get on a boat. I'll be all right." But Rose would not leave him. She grabbed his hand. "I can't live without you," she said. "We will be together. Please don't leave me." Jack looked at her with tears in his eyes. "You have to promise me something. Promise me you'll live. Promise me you'll be happy. Please, Rose, live your life. You are strong. Don't let this moment end your life." Rose hugged Jack tightly, crying. She promised him she would live. But the ship was sinking fast. As the cold sea swallowed the ship, Jack and Rose were thrown into the water. The icy cold made it hard to breathe. Jack helped Rose onto a piece of wood. There was not enough room for him on it, but he told her to hang on. He stayed in the cold water, holding on to her. Jack looked at Rose with a gentle smile. "You will be okay," he said. "I know you will." Rose kissed his hand. "I will never forget you," she whispered. Jack closed his eyes, and his hand slipped from hers. He was gone. Rose screamed, but there was nothing she could do. The ship had sunk, and now Jack was gone. She was saved by a lifeboat and taken to another ship, the Carpathia. But Rose's heart was broken. She had lost Jack forever. Years later, Rose was an old woman. She still loved Jack. She had lived her life, just like he asked her to. But she never forgot him. One day, she stood on a ship again. She looked at the ocean, remembering the night she and Jack had shared. She took the necklace, the heart of the ocean, and dropped it into the water. The necklace sank deep into the ocean, where Jack had once been. Then Rose closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw Jack waiting for her, smiling. They stood together just like before, dancing on the ship. And Rose knew in her heart that they would be together forever. The years passed, but Rose never forgot Jack. She lived a full life, always remembering the love they shared. Rose became a strong woman, and even though she married someone else, she never truly loved him the way she loved Jack. No one could ever replace him. Jack was always in her heart. She had children, grew old, and became a grandmother. But the memory of Titanic and her time with Jack stayed with her. She still wore the heart of the ocean, the beautiful necklace Jack had once given her. It was a reminder of him, a reminder of that night, that love that was pure and unforgettable. As an old woman, Rose went back to the place where she had first met Jack, back to the ocean. She went on another ship, this time, alone. She stood at the edge of the ship, just as she had done with Jack many years ago. She looked out at the ocean, remembering how Jack had made her feel so free, so loved. She felt that same freedom again in the quiet moments, just looking out at the waves. Her heart was heavy with love, pain, and memories, but she had lived a life she had promised Jack she would live. She had lived without regret, and that made her smile. At the edge of the ship, Rose took the heart of the ocean necklace in her hand. She held it tightly, looking at it one last time. She thought of Jack, his smile, his words, and everything they had shared. Then, with tears in her eyes, she opened her hand and dropped the necklace into the ocean. She watched it sink into the deep water, just like the Titanic had. She watched it disappear into the past. As the necklace disappeared, Rose smiled through her tears. She knew that Jack would always be with her in her heart. The love they had was strong. It would never die. In her mind, she imagined Jack standing there with her, waiting for her. He smiled at her, and she knew that one day they would be together again. And they would be free, together, for all eternity. And then, Rose closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She was at peace. She had lived a beautiful life, and she had loved deeply. Jack was with her always, and that love would never fade. It was forever.